Corporation contract that was determined back under I-1.
Mr. Mayor and Council, on February 2nd, City Council directed staff to bring forward a contract with the Economic Development Corporation. In addition, Council directed that we bring back measurable objectives for the EDC to report on for the year 2016. Staff has done just that. We do have a contract before you this evening. As part of that contract, we've also included a number of items that we hope Council will find to be measurable and informative relative to some changes that the EDC has made this year. Specifically, I'd like to draw your attention to the strategic objectives of the EDC, and specifically those objectives tackle some of the issues that were outlined in the affordability index that Council discussed a year ago. Some of those items specifically that were addressed both in the affordability index and are addressed by the EDC objectives include wages, household income, employment, and an increase in the tax base. Additionally, it's important that the EDC has added tourism as an objective, which has been an important issue for the Port Angeles City Council. It's important to also note that the private sector has greatly stepped up as far as their investment and support of the EDC. So I wanted to make sure Council was aware of those changes. In addition to the strategic objectives, you'll see that there are details in the scope of work that outline some measurable performance matrices. There are also 2 quarterly reports for the 2 first quarters of this year. And in addition to that, a measuring matrix that will be completed at the end of the year to report back on each of those issues in detail. So I wanted to make sure Council had all that information. I'd also like to recognize Mr. Randy Johnson, who is the chair of the EDC board. He's present with us tonight, as well as Vice Chair Mr. Doug Sellon of the EDC board. Both are present tonight. I know Mr. Johnson would very much like to address Council, and I would suggest that at this time we give them an opportunity to briefly address Council.
That would be great. Randy, please.
First, thank you for hearing me. I appreciate it very much. My name is Randy Johnson. I live at 123 Henry Boyd Road in Port Angeles, and I'm chairman of the Economic Development Council. One of the greatest benefits of the Economic Development Council is the fact that it gets businesses and public entities together from all over the county to focus on what? Jobs and helping business. Anything else is kind of out of our purvey, but it's a very important thing because, again, where else can we collaborate in this method and focus together? And I just think it's one of the greatest things that happens, and it's one of the few things that happens if you think about the county. I mean, because we all go in our disparate ways, in our unique kinds of things, in our separate silos, but us all coming together, I think we're much more effective when we look at different kinds of opportunities. As Nathan was so kind to say, the private sector has stepped up, and as you may know from some of the advertisements, we now have over 100 businesses that have put their own money into this entity, and the reason being because before there wasn't very much skin in the game. I mean, you know, if I were on your side of the agenda, I would take a look at it and say, gee, if you really believe in this, then why aren't you putting your own money in? And so we now have private businesses that are putting in $10,000, $5,000. My prior company is actually putting $2,500 in it because we believe that this is a way to grow jobs and businesses. Okay, what are examples? I always get asked, oh gee, well, you haven't done anything. Well, first of all, we all know that businesses like to be private. You can't say much about what actually happens. However, we have permission from 2 entities recently, very recently, which have been involved with the Economic Development Council. You saw one of those in the newspaper, which was when Lincoln Welding acquired a welding company that does decorative welding in Sequim. There were 6 jobs there. They could have gone someplace else. And on top of that, Lincoln Welding's adding 2 more jobs, you know, with the current configuration that they have. And so we've kept the business here in Palm County, and we're also doing what? We're growing this a little bit. But you know, a lot of businesses growing a little bit amounts to something very real and very good. And again, business retention and expansion has been one of the focal points that we need to have, because it's great when you hit a home run, but I think the other article we noticed from the state was there are only 250 people that hit home runs in a year all over the entire US. So we need to grow the small businesses, 1 job, 3 jobs, 4 jobs at a time, and it's so important. The other example, very simply, is something right here in Port Angelo called the Cocabella Grove. Someone has put, what, over $1 million of investment in that entity, and the economic development accounts have got involved both with financing and some other areas. But again, those are real jobs in an area right here. And so many times people say, well, what can you show, or what have you done? Well, there are a lot of jobs that come through the Economic Development Council, and being quite honest, most businesses can't talk about them, or they don't want to know, because I went and helped you secure a $2 million loan. Well, a lot of businesses don't want to disclose that. Or I helped you do this, and you can't disclose that. But the reality is that we are involved all the time. An example, very simple, very small example today. We had a phone call from a business that has only been around for 4 years, and they have 9 employees. And the question was, where do we have an industrial site that we might locate? And I need some help financing. This is kind of the sweet spot for the Economic Development Council. How can I help? Now, I don't want to pretend it's just the Economic Development Council, because it's all of us working together. I'll be honest, our ship isn't that big, and if we all don't get together, we don't go very well. And when I say that, that includes certainly the city here, and Nathan's been fantastic, includes the port, in collaboration with the port, you know, includes asking one of you to maybe sit to meet with this other business that comes here. It includes, you know, the PUD, it includes the college if we have workforce issues, and on and on. And again, it's all of us working together to be successful. And be honest, that's the only way we will be successful, is if we all come together. And again, thank you for considering, you know, our request for the Economic Development Council. Yes, ma'am.
I was recently given information that the EDC is working with to recruit a wood products company that is seriously interested in Port Angeles, who would come here with 50 jobs and hope to expand up to 150 jobs. Is that one of their recent projects? So I'm hearing good things about the EDC, and I know, and I thank you for your volunteer time, for you and the board, because business retention is critical in a community our size and our location, as well as recruiting new businesses.
So again, we're in this conundrum of not being able to talk about what goes on. This hypothetical, real, whatever we want to say, okay?
Possible.
And again, people from the city were very involved. People from the port were extremely involved. You know,
but things are
private industry was involved.
Yeah.
One of the greatest benefits, being quite honest, is when you go out and give the port full credit for this, the carbon recycling technology there, with the college sitting right beside that. If you're taking a potential business that's looking, which needs people that are skilled in CADs or skilled in whatever, you can go right there, and here's a training system, one's right beside the other. You can show what opportunities we have here, what a wonderful place this is to, grow a business, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, and again, it's that whole big boat where we all jump in together. And I'll be honest, I think that's the way we're going to be successful. I shouldn't say the only way, but certainly the best way we're going to be successful.
Yes.
One, I want to thank you so much for all the work that's been going on. I was one of the folks who voted not to support you guys financially because of the past record. that the EDC had. And I have got to tell you, I am absolutely grateful for the turnaround that's been happening. I know that right now you guys are on schedule to slowly get more funding reduced as other outside entities. But I want you to know that even though we may not be able to support you financially so much in the future, and maybe less in the future, you've got our full support in other ways, in time, and anything that you need from me, I'd be happy to be able to do. You guys are truly, truly important. Sadly, we do need some of those funds to get that road fixed so that your new businesses coming in will have a better road. So just know that just because we may vote against giving you guys some of the finances, know that we are truly in support. The change that has happened here has been amazing. There are some results that happen. The fact that you have businesses supporting you is really, really critical. And now that they're there, I am grateful to that. Like I said, hopefully we'll get back into the business of helping the city go ahead and be able to get the roads in place for the businesses. But we are 100, or at least I am 100% in support of what you guys are doing. I love the results, and I love the connections and the relationships you guys are building. I think it's wonderful. So thank you.
And I will just say, it's equally important that people like Nathan or someone on the city council, if we have a business, to show that we're all, as a community, very interested in that business. So when we all show up together, it matters. So. Thank you. Tom?
Thank you for the work you have been doing. My question is based on what has the EDC been doing, because there's two parts to it. What has the EDC been doing to promote new businesses coming to town? And as the EDC taking funds from current businesses to help support that, what do you say to those current businesses, or what is the idea if a competing business comes to the EDC and wants to come to town? I mean, what do you, I mean, you're taking funds from, I think it makes sense. I mean, you're taking funds from one company, and if another competing company wants to come to town and contacts the EDC, then where does the EDC stand on that? You're kind of caught in a bad.
So, the example about this hypothetical company, okay? As everyone here knows, I was chairman of Green Grove. I mean, I'm in the wood business. Do I think that's still a good thing for us? I look at it in a whole lot of different ways. Just a real simple example is, gee, someone's gonna use more wood locally? Gee, is that better for me or worse for me? I think it's better for me. So, and you have to kind of have a more macro view than a micro view when you look at something like that. I don't know if that answered you directly, but you have to look at that. So, new businesses coming here, we look at all of those new businesses coming here. I personally don't see, will there be competition? Certainly, possibly, just don't know. But I don't see a conflict necessarily. I think it's for the better good for all of us. So, as far as, thinking about doing business coming here, I'm sorry, the other part of your question was,
And what are you doing to attract new businesses? Or do you just, is that something waiting for them to come to you? Or I realize you're spending a lot of time helping local businesses. And I do agree with you that the more businesses in the city and in the area of the county, the greater it is for all of us.
Well, the other thing is, okay, so I attract new businesses here. I may have competition on my wood side. See, I also build houses over here. Let me see, that's good because I've got no more people living here, and therefore more people are gonna have a demand for housing and boom, boom, boom. And so if you think about the economic good for all of us, that kind of fits. Now, as far as attracting new businesses, we're looking all the time at potential, this hypothetical business, and there've been 3 or 4 of them, but again, very few big businesses move every year. 250 in the US is kind of what they estimated was the number. In the whole US, moving of these major kinds of things. But we're always on outreach to see what might be potential to look at, who might locate here. of a larger size. I mean, so we're not waiting until they contact us, and then of course, there are information, the state has a log of all the companies that are potentially thinking about doing X, Y, and Z. Of this log, there might be 3 that would fit Port Angeles. We, of course, reach out to all of those. And out of all those that you reach out to, 1 in, 10 or 20 or 30 might want additional information about the demographics, your school system, all the other important things. But we do follow up with those people all the time, so.
Thank you.
Well, a few years ago, I was sitting on the EDC, and it became somewhat clear that the public entities were going to have some difficulty in their funding commitments and strategies, and we were addressing that. And along with County Commissioner Jim McIntyre at the time, I supported the idea of making the EDC more private. And I believe Randy and Doug, you guys have done a great job. I think that all the things we talked about 3 or 4 years ago have come to fruition, and I think it's looking great. I would note that much like the Humane Society, which was discussed earlier, I think the city needs to keep a stake in the operation, and that we get a benefit. There is a service that directly benefits the city of Port Angeles to have the EDC, 1, located here, and 2, we have the largest commercial industrial areas to provide services to those businesses. So I believe that we do need to, in 2017 budgets and beyond, do need to keep our presence in the EDC through a contribution, albeit it might not be so much. But similarly to the Humane Society, I think we concluded that no one else is providing that service, and the city needs that service, and that's equally true for the EDC. So I'm pleased that we came up with a way to do it this year. I'd like to make a motion to approve and authorize the city manager to sign the attached Economic Development Corporation contract and make minor modifications as necessary.
Second.
Any other comments before we, Dan?
Yeah, I'd like to thank you, Randy, for the report. It's always a tough question to answer. What are you guys doing? Because it is something that's not very visible in many aspects of the public. But what I will compliment the EDC on especially has been their ability to work with local businesses, and those businesses have really seen the buy-in of supporting each other. And for that same fact, that's what I agree with Mr. Collins. I think it's so important that we as a city, in our small way, help support the local businesses by supporting them and buying in, so to speak, letting them know that we believe in them, and quite frankly, pretty doggone grateful for a lot of the businesses that are reinvesting in Port Angeles. I can speak of 5 buildings just in our small little downtown core where buildings have been purchased by existing business or building owners that are already there. They're reinvesting in their property. They have confidence in Port Angeles. There's a tremendous amount of fabulous things going on, and I would be in full support of this motion.
Mr. Mayor?
Thank you. I'd just like to go back to Councilmember Collins' comments about the Humane Society. To my knowledge, there is no other entity in our complete county that provides the services that the Humane Society does. Yet the EDC, in my opinion, has covered maybe up to 5 different other entities that also do that work. Besides the fact that we actually pay Mr. West over there, his job title is Director of Community and Economic Development. The fact is, we're on a budget constraint. So the other groups that provide recruitment or are supposed to and be on the lookout, besides what we already pay for as a city council by having Nathan on our staff, we've got the PABA, we've got the PAPA, we've got the Chamber of Commerce. Now, personally, I appreciate what Councilmember Brooke had to say. I do feel that the EDC does provide a service, but without roads, none of these companies that we have presently they're gonna have additional costs transferred to them. So, I don't think we can afford it, and I won't be supporting it.
And then your kid and I would have some fun comments before we
The EDC, Economic Development Council, for Collin County. Who's the largest city in Collin County? Oh, it's Port Angeles. Who has the most businesses in Collin County? Oh, it's Port Angeles. Who needs economic revitalization? It's Port Angeles. Who needs economic business stability? It's Port Angeles. We are talking about budgets. Where do we get our money? It's from businesses and the homeowners and the property taxes. The EDC is working for us, and they're being very successful. And when they bring jobs to this town, they help the city, they help bringing in the tax money, and that's the money that the council can use for our roads, for our humane society. But when people go to the EDC website, they need to see the City of Port Angeles is a partner. We gain the most of everyone who's a member of the EDC. They're bringing jobs, they're bringing kids to our schools, families to here to buy houses. Their economic development is what we need most of all, and as a city council, we need to do our best to strive for the greatest economic development for our community, and this is an important part of our foundation. And I thank Mr. West for all he does, but the EDC is out there working for us, and we need that partnership. Thank you.
If I may, lastly, I just want to bring, I don't, you can't probably see this too far in the back there, but I have this is a presentation piece that's been presented to me by probably Jennifer or Lindy or Bill Greenwood. It is a sheet of paper which has many, you said Randy, about 100 new people, whatever this number is. About a year ago, if I sold it the same piece of paper, members of the council, it would not have had all these names on it. It had about a third. So I want to make a note here, as I hope to also support this motion that I could do this, is that the impression to me, and I want to pass compliments and congratulations on the program, that the EDC has made a conscientious effort to be a member-driven, member services organization. They're, in addition to the questions of recruitment, I think they're doing is, there's certain indications that people are becoming interested in our community. And I'm glad there's someone out there prepared to greet them. Number two, I think it is impressive that there are a number of businesses who have caught the vision and the usefulness of an organization like the EDC. So my compliments to growing from a handful to a whole page. It's impressive in my opinion. And I would also note, in terms of in the category of collaboration and cooperation, shared visions and things like that, I want to compliment and recognize Jennifer Lindy, who has been an active and participant in the PA4 committee, which meets once a month. Some of you are the PA4 committee, it's a group of leaders, civic leaders, and folks from the court and county, just a number of entities. The EDC have with enthusiasm and effectiveness, have joined our group this last year, and it makes us stronger, and we can move faster forward through the help of the folks like Jennifer Lindy on the staff at the EDC. So, all that said, there's a motion on the table. Moved and seconded, all those in favor of the motion stated, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, by the same sign.
No.
No.
So I think I heard that to be a 5-2, does that sound right?